Hi and welcome. My name is Paul O'Sullivan. I'm the CEO at Skellig. And today we're going to do another one of those flipping the script videos. And I'm here with Skellig CEO, Jennifer Jones.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Jones. I am the COO of Skellig, and my job is mostly to oversee how we scale this company while remaining true to our principles, our values, and our vision.
Accent. All right. So just like the last time, I'm going to ask three questions. First question, if you're ready.
Diane?
Okay. What kind of impact do you want to make on the world with your career in life sciences?
I want to be able to help engineers and people understand their worth as a worker and their rights as a worker and what their value is here. And some of that is very personal and touchy-feely and uncomfortable. But I do truly believe that if you were to bring a group of engineers together to work on a problem, their diverse backgrounds are how you would get to the best solution. But I do recognize that that's easier said than done. So we really have to nail into the communication and the safety and the communication and the kindness and the communication and where our commonalities are. And I think that my impact on the world starts there. Because if you enable enough people to be themselves safely and to be celebrated with all of their differences rather than hiding them, I think you get to a solution that you wouldn't normally get to in how we've been going these last couple decades.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that's something that where especially myself and yourself, we really resonated with that kind of
Mm-hmm.
line of thinking earlier on. It was like, oh, I see what you're trying to do here. I've been saying things like, I'm trying to reduce the complexity, being the engineer and the problem. And then I've often heard you say things like, what's the biggest skill set you wish an engineer was better at? And it's communication.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
also
that's a huge.
understand why it's that way. I understand that it hasn't traditionally been safe to be your full authentic self and talk about your background and bring your culture to work at all. So it's
Mhm.
hard because sometimes you're working with professionals that have had 20 years of experience before they get to Skellig, and that hasn't been something safe for them to share. So it's been interesting to see working with different age groups and cultures and every different thing that they bring. One of the things that is really common across all boards is if it wasn't safe for them to be themselves at another company, it does take a little bit more time for them to feel comfortable sharing and being safe here. Because I do think that in the meetings that are very technical and they're very complex, there's so much emotion and there's so much ego and vulnerability there that goes unnoticed or unacknowledged, but it's one of our biggest strengths if we can understand it and I don't know, come together in a different way than we're used to.
I like the way you're answering the question. It's what I would expect you to have answered. It would be a huge impact, wouldn't it? Because we've been doing this a while now, but like you still see it.
I see it more now,
Hopefully,
I think. I see it more as the years progress, where we have immigrants that are putting roots down here and making families and being part of their community and being valued and honored the way that I believe they should have been, maybe at a different company or in their past, and their contributions to the solution are priceless and their contributions to the dynamic of the team are priceless. And you see that with women, you see that with queer people. It's honestly a joy. And if I do nothing else, but I make a place that's safe enough for them to be themselves, at least within the Skellig ecosystem, I consider that an impact on the industry.
well, that's a great answer. All right. Do you feel like the industry gives you permission to affect change?
I actually don't. And it's a really existential dread of mine. But at the same time, it just makes me realize there's other places. There's other places for this. It doesn't have to come through what I consider our industry. So sometimes I feel that way because I feel the leadership at the very end of the line, people that we'll never be in the same room with, I feel they might be disconnected from the mission that we have, which is making this medicine affordable and accessible. And once they lose their passion for what they're doing and their sights narrow to fit whatever stakeholder values, that's when I start to get existential about it, because I was always taught that the end user is the patient. And I believe that the end user is the patient. But on paper, I don't know if that's true. I think the end user is who's buying.
Can you say more about that? Because it's not my first time hearing you say that, but I think,
I think it's tough because in capitalism, it doesn't really allow sometimes for these solutions to have as much merit as other solutions. And I also understand all the valid reasons why people might be hesitant to use a new solution, because what they have is safe and it works and the FDA likes it. That's a okay-ish mindset, but are we okay with being okay, or do we want to actually impact generationally how medicine
mhm,
is made, generationally how it's accessible, and how these cures and genetic therapies and all this stuff that is a betterment for society, are we going to hinge it on something that's just okay? I don't know. That's a bit existential to me, a little.
yeah, I guess where we end up talking about this kind of sometimes is around, say, all right, well, someone's doing something, they're trying to build something, trying to make something better. But then when you get into it, you're really just met with a team of people that, they're just trying to do their bit and move and stay in the game themselves and have a
Mm-hmm.
career and, be safe. And it's a regulated environment. So the stakes are very high for perceived risk taking,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's like a lot of data points towards it might make things better. It's like it's quite the leap to
Mm-hmm.
actually be part of improving something, isn't it?
It's going to take industry leaders, which I do think will emerge. I do think that there is hope.
There's almost a reinvention that needs to happen, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that maybe if I were in that seat and I was at the end of my career,
hmm
I would really be looking to who are the people who I believe in to make the change that I know I couldn't make.
hmm
And I would be looking to position those kind of people, people that actually really want this for the mission. I know there's more, and I hope that they get in positions that are dynamic enough to make these big changes, because I don't know if it's going to come in the next couple of years a little bit, unless someone's really willing and able to take a risk, because the able part is really conflicting to me too, because I don't think that they're bad people for not doing it. I understand that it's a privilege to take a risk like that or blow a whistle like that or anything, because you're risking your job and your family, your mortgage, your health insurance. Like everything is
hmm
so tied to our jobs.
So just to be clear for anyone listening to this, so what you're talking about is the technology choices and the choices of solving the problem inside in manufacturing in
Mm-hmm.
order to actually, affect a good outcome. Like
Right.
everyone's, yeah, there's good outcomes happening. We're not trying to say they aren't, but how cost effective, how timely, how much
Mm-hmm.
flexibility are we achieving? How do we work with each other as a broad collaboration across companies to actually make things better? It's quite complicated, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, the last question. Um, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the industry, what would you change?
I think I would wave a magic wand to help people realize that our vulnerability and our differences are our strength, and that it is okay to not know something and it is okay to be wrong. I've often told people in trying times that if you're not crying, you're not trying sometimes, which is that like some of this stuff is really uncomfy, but I do believe that our biggest commonality is, across all social structures, is suffering. We all know what suffering is. We've all felt it. It's always something we try to keep outside of work. But the more that you allow for space like that, I think that you can actually have a foundation to connect with somebody and realize like we might be really different, but we can do this thing together. We have this in common. We can protect each other through it. We can help with the short term, things that everyone goes through because that
Hmm.
doesn't really determine your worth and your value and what you add to the project because we're all human. All of these things happen to us. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is untouchable, but it's hard because I think our system rewards ruthlessness, and that is a problem. It's tied right into the capitalism thing again, too, which is that like if you're not making us money, you have to go. I don't believe that in my heart. Like I think that there are people that are probably hard to pay for, but have made the biggest difference at Skellig.
Yeah, it is tricky to draw that balance. You still have to make payroll. You still have to do smart things. But
Mhm.
you know, yeah. Any last thoughts on that? Because
I was supposed to give you a question, which I have come up with.
okay, yeah, go for it.
Where or how do you think you have grown the most in the last decade of working together?
Simple ideas transfer from humans to humans. Complicated ones don't.
Hmm.
So when we were working together first, used to have a lot of complicated ideas and thoughts
Hmm.
and transferring those to get a group of people energized about an idea or a possibility was very difficult. And I feel like that's kind of the thing I'm focused on trying to get better at. So I'm trying to get better at that sort of stuff. Executive coaching has helped a little bit. Some, advice from especially people like you that are, well, mainly you working with me in a lot of those ways where like, okay, well, how are we actually going to get this idea across?
Hmm.
Who are we actually trying to target? What problem are we actually trying? Because I think a lot of times I find myself thinking I'm solving one problem, whereas actually someone like you were able to point out that no, it's actually this. So you need to focus it on look
Yeah.
at it from this perspective.
You
So
mean
I think
you're
I've
actually solving one problem and creating three others at the same
yeah, yeah,
time?
exactly.
Yeah, a little bit of that. No, I think you've gotten better at that. Where I've seen you grow the most in the last couple of years is not jumping to solve, jumping in every single thing. I think you and I are really reactive people. And so when someone has a problem or they're going through a hard time, it's just in our DNA to want to help. But realizing that the company's grown to a place where you and I aren't the most helpful people in the moment some days, that's been really
Yeah, that's
hard because I like solving people's problems. And I know you do too. I like being an answer for somebody who needs an answer, but that's
okay.
not
I'm
always the
glad you
right
see a
thing
bit
to
of
do.
improvement in that because that's something I think I'm not great at yet, but I do acknowledge that and I want to get there because, but that bang of guilt you get, someone's got a problem and like, oh, okay, right, let's go solve it. And then
Mhm.
because of the scale of things now, I don't often have like firsthand information about the problem, so I'm just trying to second guess. Even recently, I forget who it was, but I took 2 days to rediscover some information that someone had already arrived at. And I was like, I'm really trying to get out of that.
You and I both believe that the problem is typically best solved by whoever is closest to it.
Yep.
And we aren't the closest to it anymore. And it's been a really hard pill to swallow for both of us.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that there are people who make better choices than us making these choices now. And that's
Mhm.
been a relief in a way, which is that I'm watching people make choices that I feel are in line with what I would want to happen here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
that's
that's
been helpful.
yeah. I'm I like trying to work towards improving that too, because it is that first reaction is jump to solve, and then the second more mature reaction is okay, well wait a second, let's see who's supposed to be looking at this and do we have the right kind of is the information running the right way? Is the right
Mhm.
person getting a chance to solve the problem
Yeah.
first, and yeah,
Yep.
this has been fun and
Delight.
yeah. Um thanks so much for watching if anyone watched. Good luck.
Thank you.